It's Tom Green Live. Live from Los Angeles. Tonight's special guest, Carl Reiner.
Hello, welcome to the show. We've got a good one today. The legendary Carl Reiner is here. This is going to be exciting. Let's have a little round of applause. We don't even normally do applause on the show, Mr. Reiner. But in your honor, I think we should do some applause today. This is exciting. I can't believe we're going to get to talk to Carl Reiner for the hour, and we'll be taking your calls. Let's just settle in here and get relaxed here for the show. We've been having a lot of fun around here these last few months making this show, and I think it's time we just lighten up a little bit and get into the spirit of things and relax and make some good TV tonight. It's been a real busy week. I've been having a lot of fun preparing for this show. It's a lot of work preparing for a television show. Earlier this week, I really was just sort of up to my armpits and things to do. I was out, I had to go eat some pizza at one point. So I was, of course you have to be, have energy. And so I ate a little pizza. Television is hard work. Actually I had to take my car to the, car wash. Of course, the car is the 1979 Z28 Camaro that we purchased for the show last season. And, of course, you have to get it dried because it's made of steel, and steel rusts, not like these plastic cars today. But got the car washed. I ate some pizza. I flew a kite for a while this week. Just getting ready for the show, I went out and flew a kite. Why do people say "go fly a kite"? Anyways, is that supposed to be like an insult? It's like trying to insult somebody by saying "go enjoy an afternoon relaxing." But it was fun out there flying the kite. I really did enjoy flying the kite. I think part of it is I do have to be relaxed on this show. Sometimes I get so in my head, and I get stressed. And if you go out and fly a kite, I think it's going to make the show as good as it can possibly be. I did some bird watching. We talked about this a few weeks ago. How I feed my blue jays we have the California scrub jay, it's called actually, and I like to feed those blue jays, and it helps me relax and prepare for the show. Sometimes when I'm looking at the blue jays as they lift off into flight, I say to myself, do birds know that they impress us? They are probably laughing at us though, right? You figure, John? They're laughing at us. They're looking at us and saying, look at those idiots down there, they can't even fly. Lame. We can't impress birds, birds impress us. We can't impress birds by walking, birds can walk. Birds can swim. Birds can turn their head, Why did we decide to talk about birds tonight? I forget exactly. Listen, I'm very excited about the show tonight. I really can't tell you how much fun I had preparing for this show. I actually went down to the Paley Museum of Television and Radio in Beverly Hills. I went down there yesterday, and I spent the day there looking at all of this amazing archival footage from the great Carl Reiner, and it was just incredible. It's actually an incredible complex, too, if you go to the Museum of Television and Radio in Los Angeles. I went down there and spent many, many hours watching old episodes of The Tonight Show and Dick Van Dyke and all sorts of great broadcasting from the golden age of television. Tonight, comedy legend Carl Reiner is with us. Shows like Cheers or Seinfeld or SNL owe it all to Carl Reiner. Everybody you see on TV has been inspired by this man. He's worked with Sid Caesar. He's created and wrote and created the seminal Dick Van Dyke Show. He's directed 4 Steve Martin movies. We're very lucky to have him. He's also appeared recently in Hot in Cleveland and 2.5 Men, but he says his greatest achievement is his children, of course. Is his children. That's grammatically correct, is it? Is his children.
Yes.
Is his is his children, of course. Annie, Lucas, and Rob Reiner. Going to be a great show tonight. We'll be taking your calls. After the break, we'll be here for the hour with Carl Reiner, everybody. Stick around. We are back, and what an exciting and an honor, a real honor to have you here, Mr. Reiner. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
I'm more honored than you are. No, I'm not kidding, because I just saw you do something that I can't wait to report to people. Man gets here to make himself comfortable. He takes his shoes off. I've seen that 100 times, and then puts on exactly the same. That's inspirationally brilliant.
Wow. Well, that really...
You are either an idiot or a genius.
I would put a check in the A box on that one.
That's why you're a genius.
Well, we did that for you. That's the first time we've done that, and I had so much fun watching your many talk show appearances and shows that you've done over the years, preparing for the interview. Do you like doing talk shows? You must really love doing them.
Yes, because they're, as you know, this one is unprepared, and I love being unprepared. And if your mind is still working, you know you're alive. And we'll see what happens. I tweeted that I'm coming on tonight, and I said, and I hope I'm good. I'll tell them tonight whether I'm good or not.
Yeah.
But they're watching to give us their opinion.
Yeah, I saw your tweet. I follow you on Twitter.
Oh, you do?
Is that amazing, Twitter?
I love it. I must do one every night.
Yeah. It was probably, would you ever have dreamt Twitter happening when you...
No. I dare say that when I was a kid and we saw an airplane, when I was 6, 7 years, look, an airplane, and we ran down the street and there was an airplane in the sky. Yeah. Now I don't look even, I don't even notice.
Yeah. You've been on the Johnny Carson show 50 times.
No, 47 times.
Mm-hmm.
47 times. And when I went on the Johnny Carson show, and it was the last time, it was the last week he was going to be on, and I said, it's not a good number. I said, Tony Randall had the record 79 times. Nobody ever beat that. He lived in New York. Anytime anybody was missing, Johnny would call him. And I said, Johnny, and he did this. I said, I'd like to have it a round number like 50. Could you introduce me 3 times? Yeah. And I'll come out. I wore the jacket. I turned the jacket inside out. But he introduced me. I made 3 entrances, sat down. 2 questions, ran out. Yeah. And I love that about it.
I watched that bit yesterday at the Museum of Television and Radio.
Yeah. It exists.
Yeah, it's at the Museum of Television.
I have to go there. You know, it's down the block from my house. You could have come to my house for a cup of coffee and not be allowed in, because I didn't know you then.
Yeah. I saw Jerry Seinfeld come over to your house for a cup of coffee.
He did. When Mel was there. Celebrities having coffee in cars.
Comedians in cars having coffee.
That's a lovely show. I love that show.
He has so much reverence towards you. You could see it on that appearance. He was on that show, on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
He turned out to be the comedian. This millennium's comedian. I saw him live, and I can't believe what he does. He just talks about what is right in front of you and makes you roar.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be so much fun. Why don't you want to try to take a call real quick and see how it goes with these people from calling in, and we have so much to talk about. But let's take a call first and see what Adam in Colorado has to say.
Hey there, how you guys doing?
Real good, Adam. Go ahead. What's your question?
All right, so Carl, you've had an outstanding career, worked with some amazing actors and writers. Looking back at your show of shows, what was it like backstage? You know, you've made so many other people laugh. Tell me a little bit about who's made you laugh the most.
Who's made me laugh the most? Well, actually, I was with a guy who made me laugh more than anybody, Sid Caesar. He was a true genius. He informed sketch comedy for all time. Every great comedian who does a sketch now has to thank Sid Caesar for that. But backstage, there wasn't much fun. We worried. It was a live show. It was an hour and a half. It went on and went off exactly in an hour and a half. And by the way, when we had to cut something, that was the most frightening thing in the world. They say you have to cut. They always cut the sketches because you can't cut dances. They'd be up in the air. You cut the dance. He's stuck in the air. Mm-hmm. They were live, so we were always worried about, are we going to remember our lines?
I was watching.
And we didn't have cards. Cue cards were something we hated because cue cards. Where's the camera now? Right here.
Yep.
See, you and I are talking. If you and I were talking, I'd be looking at you, the cue card like this, and it looks like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
We never had cue cards, so we had to memorize.
Wow, that must be, that's a real talent in itself, just being able to memorize all the stuff, let alone perform it.
Of course.
Yeah.
What a talent.
Now, do people acknowledge, do people, for our viewers, our younger viewers, they just so they know, that's really the precursor to Saturday Night Live, was that your show of shows?
I don't think they know it, but they'll know it because you said it, Tom, and people believe you. People believe you. It was the precursor to Saturday Night Live. It was the first big variety show, and variety shows after that, after the show of shows was on for 7 years with Caesar's Hour, and then it disappeared. It disappeared for a long time after that. Horses and Guns took over, and what was I saying?
That was the Western came in?
The Western came in, and there were nothing but. And it was, I was going to make a point. When you get to be 92, you forget your point.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it just flashed on me a tweet I made. My first tweet was, sometimes I'm beginning to worry about my short-term memory loss. Sometimes I'm beginning to worry about my short-term memory loss. And it just happened to me.
Yeah.
But thank God I've got other things to talk about.
Absolutely. We have a lot to talk about here. Let's take another call, actually, and another question from Tilly on Skype. Hello, Tilly. You're on. What's your question for Mr. Reiner?
That's not Tilly.
How you doing, Tom?
Yeah. Hello.
How you doing, Mr. Reiner?
Hello. What's your question?
On the Dick Van Dyke Show. Was there any problems with the network, people, as far as going too far?
Oh,
with standards and practices?
On the Dick Van Dyke Show, there were a thing called standards and practices. We call them censors. I'll never forget it. The first time, my wife and I sleep in a big double bed, and we had double bed. And they said, you can't have a double bed. I says, what do you mean? He says, well, they're married. In the show, we want people to know they're married. And most people have double beds. Kids know about their parents. Well, they talked us. We had to have twin beds. If I had to make crazy reasons for it.
Two single beds.
Two single beds.
That was just far too racy.
Too racy. But then came the biggest one, when I was ready to quit. I didn't have FU money then, or I would have quit. There was a line where the little kid says he was about 6 years old, little Richie, he said, where did I come from? That was the name of the show I written that week. Where did I come from? And father says, you come from mama's belly. And he said, oh, okay. I looked this up. I checked on every important psychiatrist and physician. They said, when a kid asks a question like that, give him the answer truly. Don't tell him. And if they don't ask any more, leave it at that. And that's all he wanted to know. Where did I come from? He didn't want to know how he got out or anything. And they said, you can't say that. I said, why not? I says, it's not a rumor, it's true. and they said, yes, but a lot of people don't want children to know that. I said, what do they tell them? Well, the cabbages and storks. I says, those people who watch the show will say, that's a joke. You came from a stalk or cabbage. I said, those people can tell us we're liars, but we can educate people who are afraid to tell their kids the truth because they don't know how. They'll say they saw it on television. Sure. Anyway, they said, you can't do it. And I would have walked. I really would. It was one of the first shows I did. I didn't have, as I said, that money, so I changed it where they said, where do I come from? And he was about to say, he reached for Spock, Dr. Spock. Dr. Spock would have the way to say it. And the kid says, no, I meant, where do I come from, New Jersey or New York? That was the joke we made. It was okay. But I was so mad.
It's amazing how they get into these kind of conversations and how much things have changed since then.
My God, you can't see a show that the word fuck is allowed.
Yes. We can actually say that word here on the show.
I said F-U, hoping that people will know what that is.
Yeah, they told you before the show that it was loud. You're allowed to say that here?
No, they didn't.
Oh,
I just took my chance. I get bleeped. As a matter of fact...
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick commercial.
As a matter of fact, if you'll ask me to sing The Ball of Bellamore, you'll hear the dirtiest song, what do you call it, folk song you'll ever hear.
Oh, well, we're going to have to do that. Okay, well, we'll do that after the break. Stick around. We'll be talking more with Carl Reiner. Stay with us. We are back with the legendary Carl Reiner, and we're talking about his new book, I Just Remembered. Must have been a lot of fun putting this together.
It is, by the way, when people ask the best thing I've ever done, I always say the Van Dyke Show, but the best thing I've ever written that's in covers is this, and I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I got more pleasure out of doing it and then reading it again. I said, that's good stuff. You can read, some of them are short. They're pieces, two or three pages. You can read them in the toilet, and they will entertain you. You will smile while you're in the toilet.
Yeah. Is it hard to remember every detail of your...
No, if you have that kind of a brain, that, thank God it's still going. But I walk around the block every day, and something occurs to me. Something occurred to me today. That's why I have to keep writing books. There's another book coming out called next year called I'd almost forgotten. Things pop in your head, and I say, oh my God, that's a good story to tell to somebody. And being a storyteller, I like to talk. But there's a book. I can get the people who won't come to my house. Just they can go out and buy the book.
I found it interesting, the book you mentioned at one point you Googled yourself and the date you were on a TV show with Perry Como, just to remember the story.
Yes.
So Google is good for that then, just...
No question about it.
Yeah. That's very cool. Well, let's take a call from Dan in Missouri. Dan and Greg in Missouri. You're on the air with Carl Reiner. What's your question?
Hi, guys. First of all, it's a pleasure to speak to both of you. And our question is, how nervous were you performing live each week on your show of shows?
How nervous were you?
We were naturally nervous. If you're not nervous, you shouldn't be in the business. But the kind of nervousness it's exciting. It keeps your adrenaline going, or starts your adrenaline going, and your brain is twice as acute as when that happens. So nervousness is very important. If you're not nervous, you're blasé and nobody wants to watch you. They know. Not Milton Berle, Bob Hope was on the first. I was on his first show. He used the Show of Shows staff when we were off one week, and he asked me to stay and help him, like do some of the announcing and straight stuff. He was so nervous. This man had been all over the world playing, and he was a star of radio, television, movies. He was shaking. We shook hands. His hands were wet. I said, Bob, your hands are wet. He says, yeah. He says, if you're not nervous, you don't care.
Yeah.
It means you care.
Yeah. What was he like? Was he just a good friend of yours?
No, he wasn't a good friend, because we were on opposite sides during the Vietnam War.
Okay.
I was yelling against it. I was saying, he went to entertain the troops. I says, why don't you bring the troops back and entertain them here?
Wow.
We had no reason to be there. So we were not friends about that.
Interesting.
But I thought he was the best actor that ever worked in motion pictures, best comedy actor.
Absolutely. Very interesting. Okay, well, we have a call. We had some clips. I'd like to show you a clip.
Yes, I would love to see clips.
We have a clip from the original pilot of the Dick Van Dyke Show, where you were playing Dick Van Dyke.
This is going to be embarrassing.
Here it is right here. Let's have a look.
And the way you spoke to that director or producer or whatever he was, he seemed so important, and you were so nasty to him. I've never seen her like that before. If you could impress me, you could certainly impress Rich.
You're right. If I can impress a girl your age, I should be able to impress a 6-year-old.
And you'll do it. He can drive to work with you in the morning.
I don't think it's going to work.
You mean you won't do it?
Oh, I'll do it. Only because 95% of the time you're right. Love to lower your average just a little.
So that you were originally the main character in the show.
That's what I was going to talk about. After the Show of Shows ended, I was saying the horses and guns. Yeah, we came back to what I was thinking about. And they were offering me things to do, situation comedies, and they weren't very good. And my wife, in her infinite wisdom, said, "Why don't you write one, honey?" And I said, "Whoa." And I did something that I recommend to everybody. Talk to yourself out loud. I do all the time. I said, I was on the 96th Street going home on the East Side Drive in New York to New Rochelle. And I said, "Reiner," I never call myself by first name. I said, "Reiner, what piece of ground do you stand on that nobody else stands on? You know, even twins stand on different ground. One is looking out the window, and one is looking at a picture of Uncle Shmuel." And I said, "You live in New Rochelle, you work in New York. And when you go home, you talk about your work in the office. When you go to the office, you talk about your wife and children. Write about that." I wrote that. It was Peter Lawford picked up the money, and we did a pilot. And I said, if I'm going to do a pilot and I'm going to be in it, I better have a Bible. So that summer, I wrote 13 episodes of the Head of the Family. Mm-hmm. I did it with Barbara Britton. I was okay. As you can see, I was all right, and she was lovely. Didn't sell, and I went about my business. I started doing movies for Universal. I did The Thrill of It All with Doris Day, and I was on to another career. And Sheldon Leonard, my agent, was so upset that there are 13 good scripts on the lying there for television. He gave them to Sheldon Leonard and Danny Thomas, who had T&L Productions. They called me in, and Sheldon said, and these are very good, he says, and I said, "Look, Sheldon," I said, "I don't want to fail twice with the same material. And here I'll do a good impression of Sheldon." He says, "You won't fail because we'll get a better actor to play you." And he suggested Dick Van Dyke, and the rest is history.
Wow.
He suggested the best actor, comedy actor that ever worked in television.
Yeah, and you play, you're in the show, you still play the sort of a Sid Caesar character, right?
Well, everybody said it was Sid Caesar. Alan Brady was a combination of everybody but Sid Caesar. Mm. Sid Caesar was a pussycat. We had lunch every day for 7 years, and we visited each other all the time, went to movies together. No, he was a combination of a guy named Milton Berle, who used to yell at everybody, had a whistle around his neck on live television, screaming at everybody. There was a character in Top Banana, played by, what's his name? Phil Silvers. Yeah. Phil Silvers played Top Banana, and he played this character, which was a combination of that and Jackie Gleason, who Jackie Gleason never spoke to his writers. They'd write the shows and pass it under the door. He never talked to them. So those three guys were the amalgam of this Alan Brady. Everybody thought it was Sid. Sid was a pussycat.
They just assumed because you were writers on his show. Right. Yeah, we actually have a clip from one of the
Big Bad.
It was an accident.
An accident? So was Custer's last stand. You want a scalp to hang on your belt? Here. Huh? This is a cute one. I had this one made so people will say, "Alan is losing his hair." Would you like that one? Or would you like a crew cut one that I had made for the summer? Oh, this one, Mike. "Alan, you need a haircut." Huh? Would you like these? What do you suggest I do with all of these now, huh?
That was from the episode.
And the line, she says, "Why don't you give it to some poor bald man?"
Yeah. That was when Mary Tyler Moore on that episode blurted out that your character wore a toupee on a game show.
And that's funny. Everybody asked me about that. I wore a toupee. This is not a toupee. This is my actual hair. That's what I try to emulate. But I never wore a toupee. As a matter of fact, Fred McMurray wore a toupee, a very fine actor, but he saw me at some event. He says, "You're not wearing it. Why? How do you choose when to use a toupee?" I says, "For a local event with 300-400 people, I don't wear it." Yeah. I said, "A national event, and I want to be handsome. I wear a tuxedo and hair. It's just formal. It's formal wear." But I never wore a toupee that I didn't tell the audience. It's an important day. I'm wearing my toupee. I didn't want people thinking I'm getting away with it.
Oh, you should do that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a toupee. This is a toupee.
It's not. I can see it's not. I can see the hair.
Okay, we'll be right back. We'll keep the conversation going. Stick around.
We're going to keep the conversation going even tonight.
We are back with television legend Carl Reiner. Great to have you here. This is fun, right?
So far,
Yeah.
so far, it's perfect. Don't do anything to louse it up because I'm really having a good time. Be very careful with the next question. Make it a winner. Go ahead. What do you got?
And that's putting the pressure on. Yeah. Well, what do you think of what has happened to comedy? Has it changed in the way that you like it? Has it it's evolved? Sometimes
Comedy is doing what it always should be, what it always does, reflect the mores of the time. And it is doing that. The good comedians are doing that. There's a lot of rap going on. You know, that's one way of commenting on the world, but it's so fast I don't hear it.
Okay.
But
Rap
I still
music.
like the guys who talk to me, and there are an awful lot of good, funny men around who are, you are one of them. My God, there's one in the studio. No, it's true. It's true. There are an awful lot of good comedians, but they're doing what they have to do, commenting on what's happening today.
Mm-hmm. Is there ever things that you've seen that just get too shocking or too crass, where you say, you know, they didn't have to go that far?
Here's my quotient: if it's funnier than it's dirty, sometimes the dirt comes flying out now. They found out, I think, when the situation comedy went from 28 minutes to 20 minutes because Ronald Reagan said, the airwaves belong to the sponsors, not to the people, which Herbert Hoover said in 1937. The airwaves belong to the people. 28 minutes have to be entertainment, the rest is commercial. But Ronald Reagan made it possible to have a Viagra commercial and Cheetos in the same one, flicking along. So that's that's and the comedians didn't have the comedy situation comedies beginning, middle, and end. It's easier to put together a bunch of jokes, straight line jokes, straight line jokes, straight line jokes. So the storylines disappeared. We used to have beginning, middle, and end, and even a tag at the end.
Yeah, I love that though. As long as it's funnier than it is dirty.
Yeah, then I'll accept it.
Can be really dirty, but it's just got to be extra.
I remember seeing the dirtiest comic ever. What was his name? And by the way, he talked about it the other day. Andrew Dice Clay.
Andrew Dice Clay is a good friend of ours. Yeah.
Yes, I had a program. I did a tennis tournament, pro-am tournament every year at Acosta. 25 years I did it. Invited everybody from, my God, the first time Bill Maher, I saw him when he was a young guy. Everybody was invited up. And not knowing what they would do, but I would fool around with them. I got Andrew Dice Clay and got up and it was so dirty, but he was funnier than he was dirty.
Yeah.
And he remembers, he said it the other day, he remembers me saying, "You're very dirty, but you're going to be a big star."
Yeah.
And he is. He doesn't talk dirty anymore.
I will ask him about that. He's one of my best friends.
Really?
Yeah.
Ask him.
Yeah.
He said that.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard him say it. Ask him if he meant it.
Okay, let's take a call. We've got Mike in California on the line. Mike, hello.
Hi, thanks so much for taking my call tonight. Mr. Reiner, when the Dick Van Dyke Show started, your Alan Brady character was only off-screen. What influenced the decision to bring you on camera as a full cast member?
Well, that's very, very good, actually a good question. When I first invented Alan Brady, I said, who's going to play Alan Brady? I says, anybody we get would be an actor. And they'll say, he's not a big star. He's just there was a small part. So I decided, we won't see Alan Brady. We'll be an off-stage character. So I had him first as behind the head. I played him with a phone over my face or from behind the head. And then after a while, some of the scripts we were writing, Alan Brady was strong in them as far as dialogue. I said, we're not being fair to the script if we don't see the guy's face reacting to what he's telling Robert Petrie. And so I turned him around, and then there was me, Alan Brady.
We have a great Alan Brady clip, actually, from an episode where it was almost a precursor, I guess, to reality TV in a lot of ways, where they were doing a documentary about him.
Oh, yes.
And he shows up at the Dick Van Dyke residence. They were having a party, and Dick Van Dyke has told everyone at the party to not fawn all over you and sort of change.
Natural.
Act natural, yeah. Let's have a look at this.
Hey, everybody, here's my old friend Alan Brady.
Hi, gang!
It's me, Alan Brady, my old friend, the television star.
Hey, wait a minute, hold it, cut. What are we playing here, living statues? I said cut. Cut. Rob, don't these people own television sets?
Of course.
Well, where's the adoration that usually greets me when I run into a room?
Well, Alan, I felt...
These people are supposed to be my friends, the little people who love me. Why don't you rush to the door and love me?
Well, Rob told us not to.
Attaboy, Benedict.
You told them all to ignore me? You told them to turn their back when I give them my famous hi gang?
Hi.
Yeah, see, that's the idea. That's what I mean. Hi.
That's amazing how sort of much foresight that you had to sort of, that's reality TV today.
I did. I was doing what were doing at the time. Everything you do that it reflects what the time is. Will if it's valid, it'll continue to be something else. I didn't know I was doing that.
Yeah.
I didn't know it till this minute, till you told me I was doing reality.
Just the idea that people react so
Yes.
differently. Real people act
Right.
so differently when they're being filmed.
Yes, but now we find that some reality feed they're geared to say now do this, do that, and it's not real. I heard something the other day. So, is this true? And I don't know if I should say it, but what is the judge? Judge Judy? Mm-hmm. I hear those are actors sometimes. Actors.
Really?
Somebody told me that parts played by actors.
Yeah.
Maybe real people playing actors, acting real people.
I actually don't know, but do
Now
you
we
like Judge Judy? Do you watch that show?
No, but every once in a while I pass by when she's yelling at people. I said, I got to watch her finish yelling and see how the person reacts. No, I don't really watch it too long.
Yeah, more of a Jeopardy fan, right?
I do like Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Mel and I watch Jeopardy, and it's been on a long, long, long time. And the wonderful thing about Jeopardy is they credit it to Merv Griffin because production. It was his wife
Okay.
who invented Jeopardy.
Yeah, okay.
And it was on an airplane where they were trying to figure out a new kind of, he was trying to figure out a new game show. She says, let's go to a game show where there's something intelligent about it. We can't do that anymore because that's where the scandal was, where they were giving answers to the questions.
Right, the quiz
and
show
she
scandal.
says, let's give them the answers and let them give us the questions. And he says, what are you talking about? And she said, 52,080 feet. He says, what's a mile? 62 Wistful Vista. Philip McGee's Molly's Address on Radio, and that's the way it was born.
Very cool. Well, we'll talk more about your television viewing habits and your friendship with Mel Brooks, and after the commercial, we're going to go to a break, and we'll be back with Carl Reiner. Stick around. We're back with the great Carl Reiner talking about his great book, I Just Remembered, and other things. We have callers calling in from all across the country and around the world. We have Will in Massachusetts on the line. Will, go ahead. What is your question for Mr. Carl Reiner?
Hey, Tom. How you doing? Big fan. Love the style of the show. Real relaxed. Appreciate that. My question is to Carl. Hey, Carl. How are you? A big fan. You're a legend. Let me know, what inspired the 2,000-year-old man routine? Just curious about that.
This is exactly the way it happened. Mel gets bored when I tell the story, but it's the only way, it's the absolute truth. When I started on the shows to be Sid Straight Man, there was a guy in the room, a guy named Mel Brooks. I didn't know who he was. He worked for Sid. He wasn't working for the show of shows.
Yeah.
Sid was giving me $50 a week to give him jokes. He was standing up, and he was standing there, and I didn't say hello to him, and he was doing a Jewish pirate.
Yeah.
And I never forget the lines.
Here's some pictures of you guys here, actually. Yes.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
And the Jewish, there we are, plucking feathers.
Yeah.
And the Jewish pirate was saying, you know what it costs to set sail today? I can't afford to set sail today. $3.95 for a yard of sail cost. I can't afford to pillage and rape anymore. That was his first line. And I laughed hysterically. The following week, there was a show called We the People Speak, where they recreated the news. And I thought that'd be a good thing for us to do on the show. So I pitched it, and it didn't work. But Mel was sitting there, and I say, here was a man who was actually at the scene of the crucifixion 2,000 years ago. Isn't that true, sir? And Mel said, oh, boy. I said, you knew Jesus? He says, thin lad, right? Always wore sandals, walked around with well-water guys. They always came into the store, never bought anything. He asked for water, but they're very nice. I gave it to them. That was the first. And for the next 10 years, every time there was a lull in the office or a lull at dinner parties, they tell us to get up, and we did the 2,000-year-old film. For 10 years we did it at parties, and they said, put it on record. We said, no, it's really for Jews and non-anti-Semitic Gentiles. And it was at a very big party out here, a command performance party, Edward G. Robinson, George Burns, and the dear man, Allen, Steve Allen.
Yeah.
They all came up to us after and said, you got to put it on record. And I remember George Burns says, is that on record? And we said, no. He says, put it on record or I'll steal it.
Yeah.
And it was Edward G. Robinson said, make a play out of that. I want to play the 1,000-year-old man on Broadway. I says, 2,000. I play any age, any age. And it was Steve who said, hey, fellas, World Pacific Jazz, a little place I do my albums, why don't you use it? So we invited 300, 200 people, wailed for 2 hours, cut it down to 47 minutes, and it became the 2,000-year-old man. It became a hit.
It must be amazing to be friends with somebody for so long.
Yes, he's been my friend since Fire Island, before even he was on the Show of Shows, before, just on the Show of Shows. That's when we met, on the Show of Shows. In 1950.
Let's look at this picture again of you picking feathers out of the pillows at your house with Mel Brooks. You guys just...
Yeah, by the way, I bought those sweaters on sale, and I got one for him, so we were... But there's that pillow in those pillows that are in a couch, my wife had filled with feathers, chicken and duck feathers, and they kept sticking out. So we stopped pulling them out. And you see that bag of feathers there? I have a bag of feathers with celebrity pickers, celebrity pluckers.
So this is just a fun little sort of obsession of yours?
No, you keep talking as you're picking feathers. You still have conversations going. It doesn't become the focal point. It becomes, it's like smoking a pipe or something.
The pillows are not empty now?
No. It's going to be... I won't live long enough to empty those pillows.
Yeah. You have a few obsessions like that, though. You like to collect elastic bands from around the newspapers?
No, that was... I wrote about that. For years, I tell a lot of people, and I may improve your life if you're listening. If you carry a big wallet in your pocket, it's really a cumbersome thing, and it makes your pants stick out. I decided that if you have your money and all your credit cards in one place, you lose your credit card and you lose your wallet, you lose everything. Separate them. Here's my money, and I used to have a money clip on it. Money clip takes weight and space.
Yeah.
The best money clip in the world is a rubber band. I get these from the newspapers that lie in front of the house, and every day they toss a newspaper.
Your money clip was so nice,
So this is my money clip.
Your money clip is
and
so nice.
by the way, I have one for you.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
I believe I have one for you.
Okay.
And if I don't, I'll give you this. Yeah, here.
Okay.
Here's a money clip for you.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Oh, now it's going to be sloppy. I put them both together. I hope I don't lose them. Anyway, that's the beginning of the selecting and saving rubber bands.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, let's take a quick call before we go to our commercial here. We have Travis in California. Travis, you're on the air. What is your question?
Yes, hi. What was it like working with Steve Martin, whose talents and sense of humor were so unique?
Well, Steve Martin is a genius. No question about him. I did 4 pictures with him, and each one was a joy. As a matter of fact, the first one we did,
The Jerk.
The Jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a classic. And
yes.
Then we did one called The Man with Two Brains, which is one of our favorites. There are people who learned that. There was a guy doing massaging my back one day. He said he has a club of guys who know every line in that movie. Mm. But Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid was my favorite movie of all, because we combined Steve Martin putting black hair on him. But Steve Martin is really... he wrote a biography. I commend it to you. If you never read his biography, it's called Born Standing Up. It's one of the best written books you'll ever see. He also writes about art. He is so knowledgeable about art. The fact he plays a banjo, I forgive him. I forgive him that. But no, he does pluck very well at the banjo.
Yeah.
But he's one of the most creative people I know. No question about it.
You guys stay in touch?
Yes, yes, oh yeah. He has a baby, and he's not a kid anymore, but he got married, a wonderful wife, and he had a baby. He always loved his art so much. He says, if I ever get married and have a baby, I'll give up art. And he's like, it'd be very hard for me. He said, I know how much I love my art, and if I have a baby, and it's happened. He still loves his art, but his baby is his focal point.
That's amazing.
Little girl.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's exciting for him that he was able to do that.
Yeah, but no, they don't make them like that anymore. By the way, not Born Standing Up. If you're listening,
I have read that book. I love that book.
Am I right about that?
That is the best book ever. I started touring extensively.
It's not only informative; it's so touching. It is so touching. This man was never given anything by his mother and father as far as hello, goodbye, you're great. Didn't bother. They were so involved with their own lives that he was left alone.
Yeah.
Saddest
best
thing.
book about stand-up comedy, though.
I think so. Yeah. I think it is one of the best. And I've written biographies that are wonderful.
Yes.
But not as good as his.
Yes. Get this book. I just remembered. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back with more Carl Reiner. Stick around. Boy, the time just flew by, right? This is almost the end of the show now. Can't believe it. We have 6 minutes left, so.
6 minutes is not enough. I'll talk faster.
Yeah.
We'll talk faster.
It's been so great to have you here, though. We really do appreciate it. I read in your book that when you wake up in the morning, if you like when you were a kid in school, if you would feel sick in the morning and weren't sure if you could...
I know what you're getting at. Yeah. No, I had a date one day with Tom Bergeron, to have lunch with Tom Bergeron. And I woke up and I wasn't feeling too good. And I said, I used a test that I used when I was 8 years old in grammar school. I woke up, and if I was feeling sick, I said, am I sick enough to stay in bed, or can I go to school and make it? And I would lie quietly, and I said, if my mother, and I really said this, if my mother came in with a hot dog with mustard and sauerkraut on a bun, could I eat it? If I could eat it, I'd go to school. If I couldn't eat it...
Here we go. Here, sit this
my God, look at this.
Yeah, I'll get you a table here. There you go, Mr. Reiner.
If I couldn't eat it...
We brought you your favorite...
Look at this. If I couldn't eat it, I would stay in bed.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see.
Wait. Okay.
There we go. All right.
No, look at this. Can you see this? Do we have a good picture of this? Oh, my God.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you are very welcome.
I won't eat this now because I want to talk, but
Yeah.
this is going right into my car, and we're eating on the way home.
Yeah, I figured we'd eat a hot dog together while we close out the show here, you know? Yeah.
You don't eat a hot dog with a knife and fork. You eat it. Well, you can't, right?
Yes, okay.
No,
yeah.
they made it impossible.
Absolutely. I told them not to shoot this too tight today because we don't want to look silly eating hot dogs on television.
Oh, I want to watch you. I'm living vicariously. Is it a good hot? Is it a good hot dog?
That is a good hot dog. This came from across the street at Barney's Beanery in beautiful downtown Burbank. So I actually watched your Burlesque is Alive in beautiful downtown Burbank
special. Oh my God, that has never aired.
Oh, really?
No, it never aired. It was, I think George Slaughter did it, and Goldie Hawn was wearing a dress that they thought was too racy.
Ah, yeah.
So today,
I think they might have been right. It was a good dress.
It was.
I watched it at the Museum of Television yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
It was so cool. Let's take one last call then. These people have been waiting patiently. We have a few minutes left. Go ahead with your question.
Hi, it's an honor to meet over the internet, Mr. Reiner. And we have a quick two-part question. One, what was it like to work with George Burns on Oh God?
And two, we wanted to know, how do we get invited on a movie night with you and Mel Brooks?
Nice.
Okay. The second one is you'll never get invited. You're too far away. And we don't pay plane fare. As far as George Burns, I'm going to tell you something. The last day of shooting Oh God, I love this man. I went into his dressing room to say goodbye. And I said, George, there he is. And I said, George, you know, every time I talk to you and ask you about your family, you say, why, my family, they're boring. I said, he never talked about anything. I said, I was 60 at the time. I said, but I always see you out with a girl on each arm. His wife had passed away. I says, I want to know would I have to look forward sexually? And I was quiet. It was in his dressing room. And he thought a long time, and this is the line he said to me. You want to know what it's like? Have you ever tried to put an oyster in a slot machine? And that was what I left. I said, thank you, George. And, you know, he was right. Is that too racy?
No.
Not racy enough.
That must have just been very inspiring to see how he just continued working and doing comedy right until
I love the
100
fact
years
that
old.
he was planning to go to England and work there on his 100th birthday. He made it till 99. He didn't get to be, I think he was just short of 100. It reminds me of there's a famous old play, the two English gentlemen saying, "You hear Faversham passed away." "Oh, yes, I heard. How old was he?" He says, 98. Asking for it, wasn't he? Yes, and I'm at 92, I'm not asking.
92 years old.
Yes,
yeah.
92 years.
How's that feel to be 92 years old?
About the same as it was at 91. You can't tell the difference. No, you walk a little slower. You make sure you don't trip and fall, because you know if you trip, you hit your head or you break a hip and you're gone. So very carefully I walk and try not to trip on things. And I have friends who said, don't watch that. Right here, somebody said, there's a cable there. Thank you.
To me, and so, you know, you've had so many friends that, of course, like Ernie Kovacs passed away very young.
Right,
You were a friend of his, and
Ernie Kovacs. Yeah, I did a couple of shows with him. He was something.
Yeah,
he was something.
I was a big fan of reading about him, and
yes.
Yeah, so is it just amazing you when you think back of all the people that you've known over the years? And
yes, and you miss them. You miss them, and you keep saying, when did he? And then there's things like, is he here yet? Or did she go? And I was so happy to Google people. Oh, they're still alive and retired. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we're running out of time. I want to just say, everybody, this is available on Blu-ray. This is the Dick Van Dyke Show collection. Everybody, make sure you get that. It's viewable weekdays on Cozy TV, and also make sure you pick up a copy of Carl Reiner's "I Just Remembered." And, well, we've got a minute left, so we've got to...
Well, you know, I need more than a minute to do what I have to do.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't stop now. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I want to talk more about the book. I want to talk about you. I want to read a couple of things from it. I want to read about a girl with a big... I wanted to say...
Can we go longer?
Read
Or
about
can we go a little? No, we can't go longer.
Oh, yeah. Don't you want to hear the Ball of Bellamore? Oh, have you heard the story of the Ball of Bellamore? 4 and 20 prostitutes lying on the floor. Don't you want to hear that?
Well, yeah, but that's great. No, keep going. Absolutely, absolutely. Sing us out.
Singing, who do you this time? Who do you know? The man who did you last time, he cannot do you know. The old fat maiden, she
Thank
was
you very
there.
much,
She
ladies
was in
and
a state
gentlemen.
of fits.
We had an amazing
Swinging
show.
from the
Carl Reiner,
chandelier,
everybody.
but
Thank you.
land
Good night,
another.
everybody. Thank you. Thank you.